Hey Denver, since we're all about education in Denver public schools, we wanted to share a quick lesson about Denver schools and how they're funded. We'll call it School Funding 101. This isn't algebra, we promise. Okay, first, it's good to know how the Denver public schools get funding. DPS receives about half of its funding from Denver property taxes. Most of the rest comes from the state of Colorado and the federal government. We'll dive into those soon, but first, let's look at how Colorado's education funding compares to other states. Colorado ranks near the bottom of the country in terms of education funding, at 42nd out of 50 states. And our state spends about 25% less per student than the national average. That's like students across the United States getting 4 cookies, while Colorado students only get 3 cookies. Take into account all the students in DPS, and that difference in cookies, or school funding, adds up real fast. DPS students received less funding than they did at the height of the Great Recession in 2009. Why is that? Let's zoom back into Colorado. The state legislature sets levels for education funding with the School Finance Act. Within that, a formula distributes how much money each school district gets on a per-student basis. But back in 2009, at the height of the Great Recession, the legislature changed the formula, cutting funds for all state school districts. This change is called the negative factor, and it's just one of the complicated factors that has caused Colorado to continue to underfund our schools, about $1,000 less than they did in 2009. Add up all the DPS students across our city, that's about $90 million less than DPS would have received under the previous state funding formula. Money that would otherwise hire more teachers, provide more programs, and help toward our big goal, that every child succeeds. So, to recap, DPS gets most of its funding from local property taxes, the state, and the government. Colorado ranks 42nd in the country in terms of education funding. The negative factor is just one of the complicated factors that has caused Colorado to continue to underfund our schools. It's contributing to much lower levels of education funding, about $90 million less every year. Money that could otherwise hire teachers, purchase materials, and support programs. To learn more, visit bond.dpsk12.org.